Good evening and welcome to our news bulletin for the 7th day of May 2026. A landmark election is probably what most people can attest of the 8th general elections on Niue last Saturday. 6 new members were expected to be sworn in to the 19th Niue Assembly, 4 from the Common Roll and 3 from the villages. Robert B.J. Rex of Alofi South overwhelmingly topped the polls last Saturday with a whopping 561 votes. BJ told us that taking the time to go out and meet the people was a privilege for him, but it was his involvement with the community that matters most.
My life is based in the community, not only in my community, but just my presence around any group or any community. I have tried to be there and tried to get involved and support in any way I can. I'm sure everyone in this island, I commend everyone that does that, but I have been blessed and I have always told myself that I would like to share that blessing that I have. And yeah, I'm just very grateful at the end. I may not have the right answer, but I just want to say thank you, and I'm most grateful and honored to receive.
Not too far behind was Moira Enitama from La Capa, who also did extremely well with 507 votes, and outstanding results from someone who is not from the village of Alofi South and a newcomer to Parliament. And then comes Bertha Lisimoni Tongahai, a candidate who narrowly missed out in the last elections, but made a strong presence in the top 3 this time around with 358 votes. Then we see the return of 3 former candidates, Emani Whakosimanawalui, Sonia Talangi and Sinahemana Hekau, all expected to be sworn in as Common Roll members in the new assembly. In the villages, there were not too many surprises in that everyone preferred to keep their sitting members for the next Whanoikepule. The exceptions were from the villages of Avasele and Tamgotonga. Avasele voted for a new representative in the House, who is Mr. Hetutu Tama Spiro Hetutu. He will be the new member for Avasele. He polled 41 votes against Peter Poimamau Wakanofisi, who lost his seat at 31 votes. Its neighboring village, the village of Tamgotonga, also decided on a new member in a somewhat surprising takeover from the sitting member. Hikitongia Puheke is the new member for the village of Tamgotonga. He polled 28 votes against 2 other opponents. The sitting member, Riki Makani, has lost his seat at 23 votes, and a former member, Peter Funaki, at 16 votes. Hikitongia Puheke says that he heeded the voice of the people in his village and felt obliged to help bring about change.
To be honest, it takes a lot for me to put my name in there, to be the assemblyman for our village. But like I told most of the people in my village, it's not that I'm high-headed, but I did not campaign for the reason I would let the people speak. They wanted a change, and I'm willing to work with them, work together to get the change that they want.
There were also the most interesting results from the biggest constituency of Alofi South. The caretaker Prime Minister and member for Alofi South, Dalton Tangalangi, just managed to hang on to his seat by a single vote. He polled 111 and Alana Fiafia Rex 110 votes. It's not the first time we've had similar results in the elections, but it's the first time for a high-profile village with the most number of voters to show these sort of results. It's an election of many firsts, and it's the first time that we see more women being elected into the House, 4 from the Common Roll, Moira Enitama, Bertha Lisimoni Tonghai, Sonia Talangi and Sinahimana Hikau, and 3 other women from the villages of Mutalau, Florence Melikitama, and Mona Inu from Tuapa, and Rhonda Sekia from Lakapa. In total, 7 women MP were expected to be sworn in into the House next week. BJ Rex took more than half of the voters from Alofi South and pinned the tally that is perhaps or arguably the highest total number of any voters since the turn of the millennium.
There's a message there from the electorate that they're looking for some changes, not a great upheaval, if you like, but people might be looking for some changes in the direction in which our country is going.
Does that reflect in any way the fact that there are more women now in Parliament and more young people coming through?
Those are 2 indicators. They're strong indicators. And for the first time ever, we've had more women representative in Parliament than previous parliaments. But to the credit of our people, we've always had women representation in Parliament. But this is the first time we've had so many women parliamentarians.
It is also in elections where we do not see what we term as matuas in the lineup of the Common Rule members. It hasn't gone unnoticed that Olaf Jacobson and Billy Talangi are veterans who have lost their Common Rule seats, and so did the former Financial Minister Crossley Tatui from Hakupu, also lost his seat in the Common Role. Many have commented that there is a lot of youth and energy, but they are not so certain whether the wisdom of the elders have been transitioned to the young.
In some ways, I'm a little saddened to see some of our most capable parliamentarians. You look at Billy Talangi, David Jacobson, Crossley Tatui. These matuas, they are the steady hand on the till, if you like. They are the ones who knows the in and outs, who knows how to debate. And I think it's sad to see that steady hand is no longer there. But there will be others who will gravitate or who will in due course emerge to take those places. But certainly, I think the presence of younger members of Parliament now, I think that's a good sign. It's very good. It means that the younger members of our Parliament are now focused on the fact that this is a career pathway for them, and it's possible to have a career in our Parliament.
On Tuesday, the Chief Electoral Officer, Darren Tovaka, confirmed that all results that were previously announced remain the same, and all candidates have been declared duly elected. While the horse trading is truly underway, the outgoing Speaker announced that the Prime Minister has asked for the House to sit in the coming week on Wednesday, the 13th of May. This morning at the Whalefono, some new members and some sitting members were given another opportunity to ask questions on procedures before the first meeting. The Speaker, however, took the opportunity to summon the members to their first sitting, which is, ironically, the very last act in his role.
I took the opportunity to sign the notice summoning all the members to the first sitting, because that is the last official act, if you like, of the outgoing Speaker. Yeah. All outgoing Speaker must summon the House to sit for the first time. And so I decided that I'll do that in front of our representatives, which is something, it's to give them some idea that the Speaker just doesn't sit in the Assembly and control the House. The Speaker has other responsibilities as well. And by the way, it's not just the Prime Minister says, I would like the House to sit, and you agree. You, as the Speaker, must be satisfied that all the processes has been followed, or due process has been followed before you sign the document.
The first meeting of the new House will be on the 13th of May, and that will be next Wednesday. If an emergency happens with fishermen on the sea or any vessel at sea, police and other leads will embark on a search and rescue mission. But there are times when the fishermen themselves has or will be required to fill the gaps. This is part of the workshop that took place at the National Disaster Emergency Centre, and Lindsay Talangi, the maritime manager from the Ministry of Infrastructure, says the fishermen play an important role in maintaining or in maritime emergencies.
We've had cases before where the sawan can't be launched at the wharf. Thus, we rely on our boat fishermen to use their assets, which are their boats, to help us in the operation. For example, a few years ago, we had to use BJ's boat to go out to launch out at Avaseli. That was a recovery, but that's an example of when we would use them. And also, we have here a waka fisherman who has knowledge as well of his particular sea area. So it's a long time coming. We've always wanted to bring in the fishermen for training. This is a wider training involving more agencies, because it's mainly been focused on police previously. But this is a wider training for the different agencies responsible, including those who have their own boat. For example, we have a border security rib, and Customs and Immigration have been trained for that rib.
Chief of Police Richard Sami heads the operation in an emergency, and he told us that it is a collective effort.
With the utilisation of the local fishermen in regard to search and rescue, it's vital, it's paramount to part of our partnership. It's a collective team action that we all need to work together, and I see the local fishermen and their knowledge on the water, the experience, and the fact that they know how our Niue waters work. They've been fishing for so long, so their experience, their knowledge, and play a vital part in ensuring that safety for the island, for the people.
One of the fishermen who attended the workshop for the first time is Atoa Talangi.
Been fishing mostly all my life and then growing up, but to get involved in something like this, it's pretty huge, guy. Knowing that there's a system for search and rescue in Niue that goes on, and then willing to put your hand up for volunteers, and just to help out the community, because everybody needs a hand at one point. So, and once you learn all of these steps, and then you'll take forward for your families, your communities, and it all involves in the thing. So all of these learning curves today, or this week, it's been open your mind, your thinking.
Nick Burt is a senior search and rescue officer who came to help facilitate the workshop. He says response and knowledge from the fishermen has been most welcome.
It'll be about collaboration and the fishing community sharing the knowledge for the ones that have been here and passing that on to the rest of the community.
And others who are involved, I understand police are here as well. I mean, they play a crucial role.
Yeah, so police are the lead agency for search and rescue in Niue, but we've also got Customs, Immigration, Telecom, who provide the maritime radio service. We've also got the National Disaster Management Office here where we're actually doing the training. So search and rescue is about collaborating across agencies and coming together to support the community in their time of need.
The workshop continued with a tabletop exercise in the later part of the day, and some of the fishermen received the distress beacons that they have been waiting for, which helps part of the emergency requirement. Registration and use of the beacons were also part of the training.
So they would activate the beacon, and then RCCNZ, so we have Nick Britt here facilitating the SAR coordination training. RCCNZ will pick up the signal and will look onto their database, who it belongs to, and their first port of call is always the police, so the chief of police, but on the form itself there are free alternative contacts. And if they can't get hold of police, we also include Telecom Niue, who operate the marine radio 24/7 and the emergency phone. Yeah.
Finally, on Monday this week, the French Navy paid their respect with a small ceremony at the RSA Memorial in Alofi. Despite the bad weather, the commemorative service started at 9 o'clock in the morning with an official march and the raising of the flag, as well as some speeches from representatives of both governments. That's all the news that we have for you this evening. Thank you for joining us. You have a good evening.